welcome back to my channel. I'm Crystal and I'm so happy that you stopped by. So today's video is kind of another story time. I like telling story times because I guess I like talking about myself. One of my flaws. But yes, in today's video I wanted to talk about my celebrity encounters. So I've met a few celebrities in my lifetime. I'm 30, like that's not long, but I've met a few. And so I just wanted to share my little, encounters, I guess. And yeah, so I'll start with the first celebrity that I can ever remember meeting. And if you are an 80s baby or an early 90s baby, really dry. If you're an 80s baby or an early 90s baby, I don't know how much you'll remember if you're an early 90s baby, but if you grew up in the 90s, you may remember a show on Nickelodeon called My Brother and Me. And so one day me and my family, we were at a Chuck E. Cheese just for somebody's party or whatever, and there was a commotion going on, and everybody's like, oh, the guy from My Brother and Me is here. And it was the little brother who played Dee Dee on the show. And Ralph Wolfuk, I'll insert his name somewhere. It's a whole name. He was there and he was handing out his little, his little pictures and signing autographs, and my sister actually got one. I think back then I was a very whatever type of child. Like, if you're famous, when I come across people who are famous or well known, I'm not a stan. Like, I don't do that whole oh my god thing. You would have to be Beyonce, or you'd have to be like Beyonce. You'd have to be her for me to be like, oh my god. Yeah. So yeah, I was probably like 5, 6, something like that. So around that time too, my family and I, we were coming back from a vacation, or we might have been on vacation, I can't remember exactly. And we went to a McDonald's, and guess who we saw? The heavyweight champion, Evander Holyfield. Now, I was a kid, but I still knew who he was because I think that was around the time he was fighting Mike Tyson. I don't know if that was before or after the ear incident. I can't remember. But we got his autograph. Like I said, I wasn't too pumped. I'm like, oh well. But like, my parents were pumped. But yeah, so that was then. Like I said, I was probably about 6 to 8 years old then. So cut to when I was like preteen. We were on a family reunion. We do it every year. Been doing it every year since the 80s. And we just happened to be in Virginia Beach. We happened to be in Virginia Beach. And you were staying at a nice hotel. And one day, Little John walks in. Not me, Little John from Little John and East Side Boys, because I'm from Atlanta, so you might not know him as Little John and East Side Boys, but that's what he was then. This was before the Turn Down for What. This is before he started working with Mr. 305. What do he call himself? Pitbull. This was back when he was working with the East Side Boys. And he also came with Petey Pablo, if y'all remember him, and Magoo from Timbaland and Magoo. So they were all, oh my God, sorry. They were all staying at our hotel. But the Petey Pablo and Magoo didn't come till like the last day when we were leaving. So we didn't really get to meet them, but we saw them. But Lil Jon, he was so cool. And like I said, I was probably 11, 12 years old, but I still knew who he was. My older cousins knew who he was. He literally was the nicest. He signed autographs for everybody. He hung out with my cousins. And like, even when we got back to Atlanta and they saw him, he remembered who they were. hung out with them at a Waffle House, and like bought their food. Like, he was literally the nicest guy that we've ever met. And I will add this, he smelled amazing. Like I said, I was 11 and I knew what it meant for him to smell like a man. Like, oh my God. I can still remember the smell of his cologne. That's how good he smelled 20 years later. So, yes, Lil Jon. The next celebrity that I've had an encounter with was actually at my job. I worked for, what should I say who I worked for? I don't really care. I worked for the Home Depot call center, and I worked for the sector called Home Decorators Collection. If you've ever seen those products, there was a whole collection in store that they had. And so it was kind of popular among celebrities. It's sort of like a Pottery Barn and, you know, those other home decor stores, but a little cheaper. And so one of our clients was, our customers, was Kristen Cavallari. And if you know Kristen Cavallari, she was on Laguna Beach. I grew up on Laguna Beach. She was on The Hills after Lauren Conrad left. And now she's on her own show. What is it called? Very Cavallari on E. So she's still out there doing big things. And so, yes, she was a customer and she called. And I was like trying not to freak out. Like, I'm like, I know who you are. Like, I treated her like a regular customer. And her husband, Jay Cutler, the former football player, they were like regular customers. They bought a lot of stuff. Like, back at that time, she did an interview with Ease Juliana Rancic, and at her home, I saw like Home Decorators Collection products in her house. So that was probably one of the most interesting encounters, and especially since I knew who she was and I was a fan of hers. And yeah, but like I said, I treated her like a regular customer because I don't do the stand, stuff, So the next one is a little different because he's actually my family. So, and I don't really want to say his name because we're distant cousins. Like, I think either our grandparents are first cousins or his dad and my grandmother are first cousins. I don't really remember the exact relation. So we're like fifth cousins or something. I don't know. We're like distant cousins. But he showed up to the family reunion a few years ago. And of course, my family swarmed him because he was at the height of his career. I guess I could say his name. I guess. Calvin Johnson, also known as Megatron. So he was on Dancing with the Stars. He got really far in Dancing with the Stars. He almost won. And of course, my family was calling and voting for him. And then it was so weird seeing a cutout of him in the Zaxby's. That was pretty odd, but still a proud moment knowing that he's family. So yeah, but when we had the family reunion, of course, like I said, I'm not the stand type. So I just hung back and let everybody swarm him and want to get pictures with him. My mom actually got a picture with him. I might insert a picture just because I know she'd be happy to show that picture off. And yeah, so I've seen him maybe once since at my cousin's funeral. So yeah, I've seen him since then, maybe like 2017. But like I said, he doesn't know who I am. So if you asked him, like, hey, is Crystal your cousin? He'd be like, who? Yeah, we're that type. My last encounter. Now this was a very odd encounter. Like, it wasn't even a real encounter. It was just I saw this person. So this happened this year, earlier in the year, and I was hanging out with my friends in Atlantic Station here in Atlanta, and I was waiting in the parking deck, waiting on my friends to arrive so we can go to the restaurant. And it was freezing this night, like freezing. And so I pull into the spot and I'm just waiting. And I see a man get out of a really nice white Beamer, like a 7 Series Beamer. And I was like, that looks like Will Smith. I was like, wait a minute, I think that's Will Smith. And I'm like, do I jump out the car? Because Will Smith might be the one that I'm like standing for. But I didn't say anything. I was like, oh my God, I think that's Will Smith. Oh my God, I'm in the car like hyperventilating, like, oh my God, is that Will Smith? I grew up on Will Smith from Fresh Prince days. He was like one of my first TV crushes ever. So I will stand for Will Smith, okay? So I was like, oh my God, I didn't get a chance to like say hi because I really think that was him because he's been here filming Bad Boys 3. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together like, you know, we're basically, you know, close to Buckhead. And I know they're filming in Buckhead and he could be anywhere in Atlanta. So I think that was him. When we were leaving the restaurant, he came down again and I was like, oh my God, I really think that's him. But he had a bald head, he was shaven, so I wasn't really sure and I didn't want to just like, oh my God, Will Smith. And it's like 20 something degrees outside. So I just watched him and I watched him get into this nice white Beamer and drive off. So, I mean, I didn't want to interrupt him because he was alone. Like, I didn't want him to think I was some crazy woman in the parking deck, but that was an interesting moment. I really wish I would have said something or gotten a picture or a hug or smelled him. I would so love to smell Will Smith. As weird as that may sound. But yes, that was my last little celebrity encounter, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I'm kicking myself for the Will Smith thing. But I just wanted to tell you guys my little story. And please leave a comment. Let me know what celebrities you've met or who you've met. You know, how did the encounter go? Were they nice? Were they like assholes? I don't know. But I would love to hear your story. So please leave a comment and let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I cannot wait to see you in the next video.